Tori Bedford. Tonight on Greater Boston, Northeastern University is developing a new innovation center to stop the next outbreak before it even hits local hospitals. And it's funded by the CDC. I'll speak with the program's director about what he hopes to accomplish. Then we take a deep dive into Boston nightlife, what the city has to offer, what's missing, and where to get the best late-night munchies. The United States was vastly unprepared for the COVID-19 pandemic, and the CDC wants to make sure that doesn't happen again. To that end, the agency is giving Northeastern University $17.5 million to create a center for spotting and stopping the next outbreak. Called Epistorm, the center will lead a group of 10 research institutions, healthcare systems, and private companies to monitor and predict when viruses will surge and hopefully give healthcare systems time to prepare. I'm joined now by the head of the new center, Alesandro Vespignani, who also directs Northeastern's Network Science Institute. Alesandro, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So you've predicted, this is what you do, you predict these pandemics, and I wonder what can we immediately expect, in the immediate future? What are we kind of looking at in terms of the waves of COVID or perhaps something else?
Well, we are approaching the winter season. The winter season is when respiratory viruses generally tend to be an issue for the healthcare system. They add to the burden in the hospital. So we have COVID, but we have also RSV, we have influenza. And so it's important to try to have a way to look into what happens in the next few weeks in order to provide the intelligence to the people fighting diseases in hospitals, the healthcare workers, the medical doctors, what they should expect. And this is what this center is about, to generate intelligence that is actionable and can be used to fight better diseases, not just pandemic, but many other infectious disease threats.
I understand this is what you'll be working on at the center, but what can we take from the way that the country handled the COVID-19 pandemic and continues to as a lesson for the future?
I think, not just this country, but the world was in a way unprepared to something, to an event like of the proportion of the pandemic of COVID-19. From 2019, and then we fast forward to nowadays, a lot of improvement to our surveillance systems, our capacity to anticipate the move of the virus, to gather data has been done. It's incredible what all all hands on deck that has been that happened in the past years. Now it's the time to operationalize that, to be, more prepared, to not invent the wheel during a crisis, but to be prepared in standby for that crisis so that we can have better information as quick as possible. This is what we really want to do. We want to know weeks in advance what we should do and what is the level of the threats. And for doing that, we need to build something that is like, a national weather forecast center that is able to project the path of the major storms and tell people what to expect. We need to do that and be in that position in the next years.
I understand that we've already learned a lot from the research that's been done on COVID in terms of RNA technology and other things as well that we can apply to other diseases and cures.
Yeah, well, can we, for instance, project how many cases will come from other countries in case of an outbreak that is not in the United States? This is something that we want to know, and we experience also in the past years, not just with COVID, but with Ebola in West Africa, with other diseases. So we need to be ready for something that is not necessarily in our country. We need to be prepared to threats that could come from many other different places. We need to be ready also to manage what is the some diseases that are regular, like influenza. We don't have to forget that influenza is straining the healthcare system every year. So there are, how we say, pathogens and viruses are always one step ahead, and we want to have better technologies, better intelligence to fight them better and earlier.
So we only have about a minute left, but I wanted to ask you, we already have a new variant of COVID. It isn't as deadly, but it is deadly for many people. Should people, in preparation of the winter season, should people be masking and social distancing? And is there going to be another booster? Should people panic?
No, people shouldn't panic. We are not going back to the 2019. We are in a different, what we say, epidemiological landscape. So the things are very different. But it's very important that, especially for fragile people, for seniors people, to get boosted. There is now a new booster that helps. It's important that the population gets this vaccine as well as the flu vaccine. And, the winter season is always a problem. And the more we are vaccinated and the more we are, especially if we are fragile, if we are at risk, are careful, and the better it is. So, it's not the moment to panic, but to follow the recommendations that are coming from health agencies and the CDC.
Great. Alesandro Vespignani, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Next up, Boston is known for a lot of things. Colleges, biotech, a Dunkin' on every block. But nightlife is not one of them. Why? And what can the city do to liven things up? GBH News and Axios Boston have teamed up to get to the bottom of it. To start things off, GBH News Morning Edition host Jeremy Siegel went straight to the source, the bar hoppers, partiers, and night owls of Boston.
Does anybody want to talk about nightlife in Boston?
There's no nightlife.
Oh, it sucks.
He knows about this.
It sucks. Oh, yeah, it's very terrible.
Boston's great. It's not a city that's known for its nightlife, but the city wants to change that reputation. They just hired Korean Reynolds, the nightlife czar, and her job is to try to figure out new ways to make the city both more convenient and more fun at night. And tonight, we want to hear from you. What do you think would make Boston a better city to go out at night? Do any of you want to talk about nightlife in Boston? Anybody want to talk about nightlife in Boston? You want to talk about nightlife?
Yeah, no, let's talk.
Hold on one second. I need to give them the cover cash.
Okay.
There are a couple of really fun spots that my friends and I go to, and they're all coincidentally in this area. Usually singing karaoke. My personal favorite's The Killers.
Are you willing to do a little karaoke on mic right now?
Oh my God. She doesn't look a thing like Jesus, but she talks like a gentleman, like you'd imagine when you
were young. Yeah. What do you think would make Boston nightlife better?
Probably less covers.
Yeah.
You probably saw I just had to run and give my friends $40 to get in.
You want to talk about nightlife in Boston?
Oh, it's crazy out here, dude.
Yeah?
It's just a whole bunch of nonsense all the time. Being sober and sitting here, you never really know how to react. I don't know if it would make it better or worse, but let people drink on the streets. It would cause a shit show, but it would be a whole lot more fun.
I'm talking about nightlife in Boston.
Oh, great. I think it's the best place ever for nightlife.
What's your best night? Like, what would make it the best?
Going to Seaport, hanging out there, going to a nice dinner, then coming. This is my favorite strip of all the bars, and then just hitting every single bar here.
I feel like Boston has a lot to offer in terms of just like late night travels, lots of great taverns. I feel like you'll never run out of places to see down here.
It doesn't start early enough. Some nights I'm like, oh, it's a good night, but other nights it just feels like there's not enough people. I wish there were more places though, because like when you talk about, oh, what are we gonna do this weekend? It's like Cisco closes kind of early. If you're on the water, Tall Ship again, it's more of like those are places you go during the day. In terms of nighttime, there may be personally 4 places.
And if you could tell the city what to do to improve nightlife, what would you tell them?
Extend the curfew past, 2 a.m.? Right now, all the lights turn on at 1:30 a.m. and you're home by 2.
All right, so we've heard a lot about nightlife over here, but let's head somewhere else to see what we might be missing. First-hand experience of the travails of a night out, having to wait for the green line. I'm walking faster than the T. Does anybody want to talk about nightlife in Boston?
Oh, it sucks.
He knows about this.
It sucks. Oh, yeah, it's very terrible.
Well, all right, what makes Boston nightlife not good?
It's very cultish. If people just hang out with their own people and they're not open to meeting new people. For us, we are of an ethnic group, and there's not many of those in Boston.
Okay, so you feel like nightlife in Boston, it's not inclusive?
Yeah, can I say this is very white-centric?
Is there anything that you think could make it better around here? Not necessarily the city, but just in general?
No, I think Boston historically is just so rooted in its culture. I think there's a lot of bars around here, but maybe like dive bars and stuff, there's not much. You know what I mean? It's kind of just sports bars, which is what Boston I feel like is.
How do you get around at night?
Oh, I got my bike right here, man. Yeah.
Is that enough? Like, do you take Ubers on top of that, or public transit, or just the bike?
Now I'm a biking man.
What do you think would make nightlife in Boston better?
Maybe some better bike lanes. I don't know.
So what do you think of music and arts and culture around here at night?
It's kind of dead now. Yeah, in this Alston, Brighton area.
Yeah, do you feel like things have changed?
Yeah, there's a lot of empty places around here. There's a lot of f***ing rats.
We make do with what we have.
What do you think the city could do to make nightlife better?
Run the trains all night, let the bars out later. The main thing, I believe, in general, is transit all night, because way less people would be drunk driving, literally.
Nightlife ends at 2, but the train stops at 1, so you have to be wary of that.
What do you think would make nightlife better?
If it went on until about 4 a.m. instead of 2.
What are the places you go to hit up?
We go to a bar to have a drink, or we come to Habibi's, which is right downstairs from here.
Oh, nice. So we've heard from a lot of people about nightlife in Boston. Some wild stuff, some great ideas, like making drinks cheaper, making cover charges cheaper. The tea, 24 hours. I would love that.
Morning Edition host Paris Alston and Axios Boston reporter Steph Solis both join me now with more on what they found and found missing in Boston's nightlife scene. Welcome, guys. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So you went out in Boston and lived to tell the tale.
Made it.
Yeah. I mean, what did you find out?
A number of things. So as Jeremy discovered in his package, right, there are a lot of people who do a lot of different things after dark when the freaks come out at night in Boston, right?
That was not my interpretation of his package, but I like that. Yeah.
But I mean, freak is up to interpretation, I suppose.
But
freaky. There are a number of bars and restaurants and even nightclubs that are available, but for some reason, it just doesn't have the gusto of like a New York or a DC or Atlanta or LA, right? Boston is a sleepy city, and in some cases, via a survey that we took of folks around this nightlife series, we heard that people kind of like that. They want Boston to stay a little quieter at night. But for those people who do want to go out, they're wanting to push limits and have more and different options, and also see more diversity in their nightlife so that they can have a wide range of experiences.
What do you think? I know there was this thing a while ago, I'm not sure if it's still operating, it was called the Welcoming Committee, and it was supposed to, were you familiar with this? They would host events like gay and LGBTQAI events at different bars, because we're often very restricted, I think. You know, that was one of the complaints that Jeremy talked about as well, is that there just aren't enough options in terms of different spaces for different people, right? Is that something that you've found in your reporting?
Absolutely. And you know, for me, I'm 31. I don't go to bars or clubs a lot. Reporting on this series felt very validating, because I encountered a lot of people in different spaces who seem to feel the same way. They want sober options, or they want to play board games, or have options that involve other queer people or people with disabilities, or spaces that are inclusive for those people.
You found options for nerds.
Oh,
as well.
Yeah. But it's also far and few in between, especially if you don't have easy access to the tea, or you don't feel safe taking those options.
I want to talk about that too, because transportation is such a big part of it, not just for people who want to go out and not drive drunk or whatever, but also for people who work at these restaurants and bars to be able to get home without having to park in the city and drive back out. What's going on? Is there any discussion about bringing back, I know we had this blip of late night tea.
Yeah, we did, right? And Jeremy did extensive reporting on that. It doesn't seem like it's going to come back, even as, people, or at least not in its entirety as we saw it before, even as people are relying on this, like you said, not just for going out, but because they have to get to work. Like for instance, Jeremy, our whole Morning Edition team, we come into work in the 4 o'clock hour, but if we needed to use public transportation, there's not really an option to do that. But we do know that the city, especially with the inclusion of the new nightlife czar, is looking for different ways to make it such that the city's nightlife economy is just as robust as the daytime economy, and that people do have options to get around and to go places, or even just as the nightlife czar, which she said, call me something else other than the czar. But one way she put it was that if you just need to go get a jug of milk at like 10 or 11 at night, you should be able to do that.
Yeah, I want to talk about that position, because to me, the things that make nightlife more fun are also safety issues as well, right? And we've heard so much about issues of date rape and roofies in Boston bars. And I know that was a discussion I had with, I wrote an article, I think like 2018, about whether or not, you know, these new nightclubs were coming in, if the Vegasification of Boston, right? Because there were, the Grand was coming in, and Scorpion Bar, and all these seaport destinations, and folks would come in from the suburbs. But they also had a real big focus on having female security guards in the bathrooms and having people watching at the bars and just, you know, applying these new strategies. So I'm just wondering if any of that has come up in your reporting and people that you've spoken to.
Yeah, it definitely has, especially when you have patrons of bars and restaurants from marginalized communities. That's one of the reasons they say they don't really feel comfortable going out in a lot of spaces.
Yeah. You hear the stories are terrible. It's really scary.
And that's not to say like it can't happen or it hasn't happened in LGBTQ plus spaces or other types of alternatives, but it's just another element of, it's just another thing people have to watch out for, you know?
People want a safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah. The nightlife czar that we were just talking about, Corrine Reynolds, she's been at this for about a year. What has she been doing so far, putting into place? What are some of her ideas, and kind of what's in the cards for the future? Like, what's being proposed?
The last I heard, and I believe Jeremy did an interview, the nightlife czar was discussing a couple of options to give not just bars and restaurants liquor licenses, but also BYOB options to coffee shops, nail salons, other businesses, to ensure people have more options to stay out later, bring booze if they want to, but still have that open space if they don't. So at least that's one example of a suggestion we've seen. And I believe that's something that Ayanna Pressley did as counselor, attempted to get done. So it's interesting to see that, you know, come up again as a potential solution.
But bottomless brunch and happy hour are still illegal. Those
in
laws
Boston. Are deep in the books.
Deep in the books.
But I will say, right? I mean, the big one of the things that Steph is getting at or segueing into is the liquor licensing, which is a huge part of a venue's success in the nightlife industry, right? And we know that for instance, out of the 1,400 in the city of Boston, around 2% are Black or minority owned, which is a very small number, and they're very expensive. We've seen stories and heard stories of where people are selling off liquor licenses or being able to buy them for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you're trying to break into this industry, especially if you're someone who is from a marginalized population, you just may not have that kind of capital on top of all the other things you have to pay for to get started.
I think that's another aspect of the safety thing as well, is that these spaces are often very segregated in Boston.
100%.
Because of how segregated the neighborhoods are.
Absolutely. And I went to two places to look more into that. And our producer on Morning Edition, Rachel Armani, who also helped co-report this story. We went to Grace by Nia in the Seaport, which is really cutting out this enclave for all people, but really centered around on Black culture and tapping into roots of jazz and soul and R&B to create that. And also La Fabrica in Cambridge, which is celebrating all the different shades of Latin America and the Caribbean and inviting people from all over to come and experience that culture as well. But at the same time, we know in the neighborhoods, right, we know in places like Mattapan or Roxbury or Dorchester, there are nightlife venues and institutions that are not getting the same kind of economic draw. They also are struggling coming out of the pandemic. And as those neighborhoods are being gentrified, they're dealing with things like people calling about noise complaints, right? And wanting some policing to happen, and not by policing by police being called, but in some cases maybe, right? And I'll add to that too, just lastly here, there's been a real conversation, Nia Grace had mentioned this when I spoke to her, about the respectability when it comes to people of color going out in the city of Boston, right? And things like dress codes or restricting the kind of music that's being played, like saying that hip hop can't be played when we know that's not necessarily something that makes a population or a party unsafe.
Only certain people can wear Timbs and snapbacks when they go out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a gentleman, Chip Greenwich, who has been doing a lot of work around that and sort of putting that pressure on the nightlife czar as well to address those issues in this economy.
Is Boston fun yet? Are we having fun?
Depends on who
We're
you
having
ask.
fun right now.
You can go to a board game bar, or you can go to a board game location where you don't have to drink. You can go out. You can maybe go to a nail salon and bring a paper bag with a 40 in it.
Not yet, soon.
Is that
hopefully.
fun? Are we fun yet? Are we post-puritanical?
Ooh, I don't know if we're there yet.
But are we getting
That's like
there?
a six-part series,
Okay,
that question,
we'll
right?
We'll follow up. Thank you both.
One.
Yeah. Paris.
I mean, I had a lot of fun doing the late night food run and also going to the two places I just mentioned, Grace by Nia and La Fabrica, right? And there is fun to be had here. You do have to work a little hard to get to it.
That's the thing about Boston. You have to seek it out. It doesn't always welcome and open itself up to you.
You have to seek it out. You have to have money for like Uber, Lyft, and money for food, or some of these events, they cost a lot of money. Like the tickets are, I don't know, $50, $100 sometimes.
Yeah.
Depends.
Yeah. Well, all right. I guess we're working on it. Steph and Paris, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tori. Let's go out soon.
Yeah, let's go out. Now, let's take a closer look at what Paris found, sampling some of the best late-night food spots in the city with local food grader Key Henson.
When it comes to late night food in Boston, it can be hard to know your options. What's open? And more importantly, is it good? Well, tonight we're taking a joyride to put local restaurants to the test. We're joined by our friend Key, a food reviewer who's amassed a following by trying out tons of locations in Boston and beyond. Our goal tonight, to beat the clock as we try to get a taste from spots across the city before their kitchens close. Our first stop is Park 54 in Hyde Park.
It's hard to miss on wings. I usually go with buffalo.
Okay, let's
But
do
I
that.
kind of want to try the Hennessy honey barbecue.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my
Okay,
Lord.
here we go. The heat coming off the wings. I can taste the Henny.
These buffalo are good.
Yeah?
It's really good.
Oh my God, look at that. Oh,
It's like got a nice sweetness to it. It's really good.
this sauce is really thick. You can sort of taste the layers of the honey and the Hennessy and the
It's like kind of built like a gravy.
Yeah.
It's a good start.
It is a good start. Well, Park 54 sure was generous with those wings, but it's time to get going to our next stop.
To Simcoe's?
Right on Blue Hill Ave. It's a nice little walk-up spot.
This menu is insane. It has everything you would ever want when you stumble out of a bar. Chicken dinners, Greek food, subs, seafood, ice cream.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, so this is the small order.
Oh my Lord.
Oh my God, look at that.
It's a lot of clam. Look how big these things are.
My mama would like these.
Right now, I know it's scrumptious. I'm trying to put myself like fresh out of a bar. Like this
I
would
feel
probably
like
change
this
my
would
life.
hit.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
If I was like lit.
I would sit right here on this brick and just eat it.
Time for Fort Hill Bar and Grill. We called our order ahead to pick up.
I put in an order for a rasa pasta.
And even though it was a weekday, that music was turned all the way up. Thank you.
Did you get a smell of this?
No.
It smells insane.
Oh my God.
It smells amazing.
That does smell good. Let's get into this rasta pasta. Okay, that was a really horrible, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I mean, we're 3 for 3 right now.
We are 3 for 3.
Our next mark is a favorite of Key's, stopping for a pizza at Anchovies in the South End.
I just enjoy the vibes of it. Nice, like, dive bar setting. If you want to experience Boston, I feel like this is the type of place you should try.
Ooh, look at that pull. This is a pull for me.
Red pepper flakes.
I like a little Parmesan chew.
Listen, I'm not doing this. This is doing it by itself. Obviously, we hated it because we had to get through all of it. We'll save this last slice for the viewer at home.
Oh yeah, for the road. My goodness. But and it's nice in here too. Like people are out, the music is good.
Yes, it's busy. It's fun. It's welcoming. It's really welcoming. As soon as you get
No, I didn't know Boston could get like lit on a weekday like this. We need a little bit of a pick-me-up. Maybe some like South Street Diner coffee.
Oh, get a nice hot diner coffee.
Cheers. Yes.
Wow.
I also love breakfast at night.
If my mom was like making pancakes for dinner for some random reason, it was like a holiday.
Did we say it's getting later? We're in the home stretch now, but if we want to make it to La Chivas before they close and make a pit stop at Bova's on the way, we need to get going.
Are you ready to try to park in the north end?
No, never ready to park in the north end.
Oh shoot, are they picking up the trash right now?
Oh my God, right now? This is like the obstacle that we definitely do not need right now is the garbage truck. Oh, come on.
I genuinely had no idea they came out this early.
We got it, in and out.
Oh, home sweet home.
Yes, you've been waiting for this all night. Can I get a peanut butter cannoli out?
Are you guys out of the red velvet cake? I didn't get my red velvet cake, but they had a red velvet cupcake, so close substitute. Close substitute. It looks really pretty. She almost just threw her cannoli out.
Oh my
of the
God,
box,
I'm like
but
throwing
it's fine.
everything around
It's been a long
you.
night.
It has been a long night. It's our moment of truth. Can we make it to La Chiva before their doors close? I've got 2:55, yeah.
We made it. We made it.
Okay, let's get into this. So this is like a beef empanada. Mmm,
I feel really good.
that's pretty good. Oh, ham and
Oh, is it ham? Okay, got you.
Okay. But definitely good if you just need like something quick.
Right.
Okay, so now I'm actually ready for I'm ready. I have been waiting on this cannoli all night. My favorite thing to get from Bova's, in addition to the cookies, I like the cookies a lot, but this nice peanut butter chocolate chip cannoli. And they didn't have your red velvet cake.
They didn't, but a red velvet cupcake is similar, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I trust that they kept it nice and moist. It looks really delicious. Nice mound of that cream cheese icing on top.
As good as ever.
For more from GBH News and Axios' series on Boston nightlife, head to WGBH.org and search Nightlife in Boston. That's it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I'm Tori Bedford. Good night.
Time.